There is a man lying in the mud right now. He has not moved in over 40 hours. He has not eaten a real meal. He has not stood up. He has not spoken above a whisper. The temperature dropped to near freezing last night, and it is expected to get worse tonight. He is covered in grass, leaves, and dirt. His face is painted in shades of brown and green. His heartbeat is slow and controlled. His breathing is measured and deliberate. He is watching a single window from 800 meters away, and he has been watching that same window since before the sun came up yesterday morning. He is a military sniper, and right now, he is doing the thing that separates elite snipers from every other soldier on the battlefield. He is waiting, and not just waiting. He is disappearing, completely, totally, invisibly disappearing into the landscape, while the world moves around him and has absolutely no idea he is there. There is a man lying in the mud right now. He has not moved in over 40 hours. He has not eaten a real meal. He has not stood up. He has not spoken above a whisper. The temperature dropped to near freezing last night, and it is expected to get worse tonight. He is covered in grass, leaves, and dirt. His face is painted in shades of brown and green. His heartbeat is slow and controlled. His breathing is measured and deliberate. He is watching a single window from 800 meters away, and he has been watching that same window since before the sun came up yesterday morning. He is a military sniper, and right now, he is doing the thing that separates elite snipers from every other soldier on the battlefield. He is waiting, and not just waiting. He is disappearing, completely, totally, invisibly disappearing into the landscape, while the world moves around him and has absolutely no idea he is there. This is the part of sniping that nobody talks about. Not the shot, not the rifle, not the optics. The stillness, the concealment. The ability to become part of the earth itself for days at a time. If you have ever wanted to understand what it actually takes to be a ghost in the field, stay with us, because this story is going to change how you think about what human beings are capable of. Before we go any further, take a second right now to subscribe. The majority of people watching this have not subscribed yet. It costs you nothing, and it means everything. Hit the button now, and let's get into it. The first thing you need to understand is that everything you think you know about snipers probably comes from movies. And movies get it wrong almost every single time. They show a sniper crawling into position, setting up in about 10 minutes, taking a perfect shot from a mile away, and then walking out clean. In real life, the movement phase, the crawl into position, can take 6, 8, 12 hours on its own. The hide construction can take another several hours on top of that, and then the actual waiting, the lying still, the observing, the surviving without being detected, that can go on for 1, 2, 3, even 4 full days before a trigger is ever pulled, if it is pulled at all. Many sniper missions end without a single shot being fired. The sniper observes, records intelligence, confirms a target location, and then extracts without ever engaging. And the entire value of that mission depended entirely on one thing: not being seen. Which means the most important skill a military sniper has is not marksmanship. Marksmanship is table stakes. Every soldier qualifies with a rifle. The truly elite sniper skill, the one that takes years to develop and that only a fraction of candidates ever master, is the art and science of staying completely invisible while maintaining full operational awareness, for days, without relief, without comfort, and without margin for error. Let's start at the very beginning. Let's start with what snipers call the stalk. When a sniper team, because almost all military snipers operate in pairs, is given a mission, the first thing they do is study the ground. Not walk it, study it. They spend hours, sometimes days, analyzing maps, aerial photography, satellite imagery, and terrain reports before they ever set foot near the target area. They are looking for natural lines of movement, low ground, drainage ditches, hedgerows, tree lines, and areas of dead ground, which is terrain that is hidden from the target's line of sight. They are mapping out every single route from their insertion point to their intended firing position, and they are doing it with one question in mind at every step: can I be seen here? That question is not asked casually. It is asked with the understanding that an enemy who spots a sniper team does not just eliminate a threat. He eliminates 2 highly trained operators, potentially compromises a broader mission, and may trigger a chain of events that costs other soldiers their lives. The stakes of being seen are almost always catastrophic, so the route planning is exhaustive. And then, when the team actually moves, they move in a way that most people would not recognize as movement at all. The low crawl used by military snipers in a stalk is not the kind of crawling you might picture. It is not hands and knees. It is full body on the ground, using elbows and the tops of the feet to inch forward across the terrain. The head stays low, the hips stay low, the rifle is cradled in the arms and kept off the dirt to protect the scope, and the pace of movement is almost incomprehensibly slow. In open ground with a high threat of observation, a sniper might move as little as 1 to 2 meters per minute. 1 to 2 meters, not per hour, per minute. That is slower than the slowest walking pace you have ever taken, and they might have to cover 2, 3, 400 meters in this manner to reach their position. Do the math. That is hours of crawling across cold, wet, rocky, or thorn-covered ground while carrying a rifle, a spotter kit, water, rations, communications equipment, and everything else they need to survive in place for multiple days. By the time they reach their hide, they have already spent enormous physical and mental energy just getting there, and the real work has not even started yet. Now here is something that most people do not think about when they imagine a sniper crawling into position. Every single thing that sniper does, every movement of his body, every placement of his hand, is analyzed before it happens. Not for comfort, for signature. A signature is anything that makes you detectable to a watching enemy. There are visual signatures, which are things that can be seen. There are acoustic signatures, which are things that can be heard. There are thermal signatures, which are things that can be detected by heat-sensing equipment. There are even odor signatures, things that can be smelled. Elite snipers think about all four simultaneously, at every moment, during every action. The snap of a twig is an acoustic signature. The glint of a lens catching sunlight is a visual signature. The warmth of a human body rising through a thin ghillie suit is a thermal signature. The smell of soap, deodorant, or food is an odor signature. Reducing or eliminating all four signatures simultaneously, for hours or days, while also maintaining physical and mental effectiveness, is one of the hardest things a human being can be trained to do. And training is exactly the word. Because none of this is natural. Every element of it has to be learned, drilled, tested, and then drilled again until it becomes second nature. Let's talk about the ghillie suit because it is probably the most iconic piece of sniper equipment and also the most misunderstood. A ghillie suit is not something you buy off a shelf, not a real one. Not one used by a serious military sniper. The suits used by elite units are built by the sniper himself, by hand, over many hours of labor. They start with a base layer, typically a loose-fitting garment made of burlap or a mesh material, and then the sniper adds to it. He ties strips of burlap in colors that match the specific environment he will be operating in. He adds natural vegetation, local grasses, leaves, pine needles, whatever grows in the terrain he will occupy. He studies the color palette of the ground, the texture of the foliage, the way light moves through vegetation in that specific area, and he builds his suit to match all of it. A ghillie suit built for a temperate forest looks completely different from one built for a desert environment or an alpine mountain environment or a swamp. The suit is specific to the ground, not to the generic idea of camouflage, and even after the suit is built, it is not simply worn and forgotten. The sniper constantly updates it. When he moves into a new area of ground, he strips some of the old vegetation and adds fresh material from the immediate environment. Because the goal is not to look like camouflage, the goal is to look like the specific piece of ground he is sitting on. Those are very different things. The suit also serves another purpose beyond visual concealment. It breaks up the human outline. The human body has a very recognizable silhouette. 2 arms, 2 legs, a head, a torso, a straight spine. The human brain is wired to recognize that shape even in degraded conditions, even at distance, even when parts of it are hidden. This is an evolutionary trait. Humans learn to spot other humans because other humans were sometimes threats. A ghillie suit disrupts that recognition by adding irregular shapes and textures that prevent the eye from assembling the silhouette into a recognizable human form. When it is done correctly, a person lying in a ghillie suit on properly matched ground looks like nothing, not like a person trying to hide, not like a suspicious pile of vegetation, like nothing, like ground, like a piece of earth that your eye slides right over, because there is nothing there that your brain wants to stop and examine. This is the concept at the heart of all sniper concealment, and it is profound. You are not hiding behind something. You are becoming part of something. The ground does not hide. The ground simply exists, and a truly concealed sniper ceases to be a person in the ground's eyes and becomes the ground itself. That sounds almost philosophical, but it is literally the operational goal of every concealment technique a sniper learns. Now let's talk about what happens once the sniper reaches his hide, because reaching it is only the beginning. The hide is the sniper's position. In some cases, a natural hide is used. A depression in the ground, a thicket of dense vegetation, the space beneath a fallen tree, a gap in a stone wall. Natural hides are preferred when available because they require less construction time and leave less evidence of human activity. But when a natural hide is not adequate, a sniper will construct what is called a scrape. A scrape is essentially a shallow fighting position dug into the ground by hand, quietly, slowly, with tools that are kept as silent as possible. The scrape gives the sniper a lower profile. It puts him at ground level rather than above it, which dramatically reduces his visual signature when viewed from a distance. It also provides cover, not just concealment. There is an important difference. Concealment hides you. Cover stops bullets. A scrape dug into good earth provides both. The scrape is roofed with whatever materials are available, natural branches, vegetation, and sometimes a piece of burlap stretched across a frame. The opening facing the target is kept small, just large enough for the rifle barrel and the scope, and it is covered with a loose layer of natural material that moves naturally in the wind and does not create a hard, unnatural line visible from the target's direction. The sniper positions himself inside the scrape in his firing position, and then something remarkable happens. He stops moving. Not for a few minutes, not until he is comfortable. He stops moving in a way that most people have never experienced in their lives, and probably never will. The kind of stillness that a sniper in a hide maintains is a trained physiological state. It is not sleep. He is fully alert. It is not rest. His body is under sustained tension. It is a form of controlled physical discipline where the body is managed the way a high-performance machine is managed. Kept running, kept ready, but kept within strict operating parameters that do not compromise the mission. Breathing is the first thing to manage. A sniper learns to breathe in a pattern that minimizes visible chest movement. Long, slow, deep breaths that cycle the lungs fully, but do not cause the shoulders or upper body to rise and fall with each breath cycle. This matters because movement is the most detectable thing a human being can produce. A completely still object is far, far harder to spot than one that moves even slightly. And chest breathing, the kind most people do naturally, produces regular, rhythmic movement that a trained observer can detect at significant distances, especially in low-light conditions when the human eye becomes more sensitive to movement and less sensitive to color and detail. The next thing is eye management. A sniper in a hide does not stare at his target. Staring is actually counterproductive in surveillance situations, for two reasons. The first is that the human eye loses detail sensitivity when it is fixed on a single point for an extended period. You are more likely to miss movement or change if you are staring than if you are scanning. The second reason is more surprising. Prolonged, direct eye contact with a target position from a hiding position can, in some circumstances and at some ranges, be detected. Not because the target sees the eyes themselves, but because the eyes produce a tiny amount of reflected light, and because the intent focus of a watching person changes their body language in subtle ways that can be observed by another trained watcher. Elite snipers are taught to use their peripheral vision extensively, to scan in a controlled, systematic pattern across their field of view, and to rest their eyes periodically to maintain acuity. This scanning discipline is practiced until it becomes completely automatic, because manual concentration on it consumes mental resources that are needed elsewhere. And then there is the stillness of the hands, the legs, the feet. This is where it gets almost meditative. Every few minutes, the sniper is fighting the body's natural impulse to shift position, to stretch, to scratch an itch, to relieve pressure on a joint that has been bearing weight in one position for hours. The human body is not designed to remain completely still. It is designed to move, to adjust, to respond to discomfort. Overriding those impulses requires a form of discipline that is partly mental and partly physical, and it is trained over months of progressive exercises before a sniper candidate ever gets near a real field hide. There are cases in the record, in training exercises and in real operations, where snipers have remained in position, essentially motionless, for 70, 80, 90 hours. That is almost 4 days, without standing up, without stretching properly, without sleeping in any recognizable sense. Just lying there, watching, waiting, alive. How do they survive it? Let's go through that systematically, because the logistics of living in a hide for multiple days are just as demanding as the tactical discipline. Water first. A sniper in a hide cannot just drink freely. Drinking causes the body to process and eventually eliminate that liquid, which means a sniper who drinks normally will need to urinate regularly, which means movement, which means risk. So snipers in hides manage their hydration very carefully. They do not dehydrate themselves, because a dehydrated sniper loses cognitive performance rapidly, and that compromises the mission. But they do calibrate their intake to minimize the need for elimination. They know their own bodies well enough to manage fluid levels with precision. When elimination is unavoidable, it is handled in place, with specialized equipment designed for exactly this purpose, without any detectable movement or additional acoustic or odor signature. This is not a comfortable subject, but it is a real one, and a sniper who has not thought through every element of hide survival has not thought through his mission. Food is managed similarly. In a long hide, a sniper does not eat normal meals. He consumes small quantities of high-calorie, low-bulk food that requires no cooking, produces no odor, and can be consumed without producing significant movement. Some snipers in extended operations use specialized ration components that can be eaten in small pieces, consumed slowly over many hours, almost like constant light fuel rather than discrete meals. The food choices also matter from an odor perspective. Processed foods with strong artificial flavors or smells are avoided. The goal is to produce no discernible odor signature that could drift downwind toward an enemy patrol or observation post. Temperature is another survival challenge that movies almost never address. A sniper lying still in cold weather loses body heat faster than a moving soldier. Movement generates warmth, stillness does not. The ghillie suit provides some insulation, but it is primarily a concealment garment, not a thermal one. Cold weather sniper hides require careful layering systems underneath the ghillie suit, with moisture-wicking base layers, insulating mid-layers, and outer shells that manage both temperature and sweat, because sweat in a cold environment is extremely dangerous for a person who cannot move enough to dry off. In very cold environments, hypothermia is a real operational concern. A sniper who is shivering is a sniper who is moving, and a sniper who is moving is a sniper who can be seen. Managing cold without generating movement signatures is one of the most technically demanding aspects of extended cold weather operations and requires specific gear, specific training, and significant pre-mission preparation. Heat presents its own set of challenges. In a hot environment, a still human body in a dark ghillie suit, lying on warm ground, in direct or indirect sunlight, can reach dangerous core temperatures rapidly. Snipers in hot weather hides must stay hydrated, must manage their layering to allow some heat to escape while maintaining concealment, and must understand their own heat tolerance limits with precision. They are also managing their thermal signature more carefully in hot environments, because a warm human body against cool ground is easy to detect with thermal imaging equipment, while a warm human body against already warm ground is significantly harder to distinguish. Experienced snipers use this principle when choosing hide positions in hot climates. They prefer positions on ground that is already warm from sun exposure, which reduces the thermal contrast between their body heat and the background, making them harder to find with infrared sensors. The spotter is the other half of all of this, and the spotter's role deserves its own detailed examination, because the sniper team is not a shooter with a helper. It is two highly trained operators with distinct and equally critical functions. The spotter typically carries a large objective spotting scope, considerably more powerful than the rifle scope, and uses it to observe the target area, track movement, assess range, measure wind at multiple points between the hide and the target, and provide the shooter with data. In a long-duration hide, the spotter and shooter rotate duties regularly. While one man is focused on the scope and the target, the other is in a reduced awareness state, conserving energy. Not sleeping, but resting in a way that allows some recovery without fully disengaging from situational awareness. This rotation is critical to maintaining the team's effectiveness over multiple days. Two pairs of eyes working in rotation maintain a much higher collective standard of observation over 72 hours than either operator could maintain alone. The spotter also serves as the team's security. While the shooter is focused narrowly on the target through high magnification optics, the spotter is maintaining broader situational awareness of everything around the hide. An enemy patrol approaching from a different direction, a local civilian who wanders too close. A shift in the tactical environment that changes the team's risk calculation. The spotter tracks all of it and communicates with the shooter in whispers so quiet they are barely audible at arm's length. Communication in the hide is an art form in itself. Hand signals are preferred for most exchanges because they produce no acoustic signature at all. When verbal communication is necessary, snipers are trained to speak in a subvocal register, essentially mouthing words with just enough breath behind them to be understood by a person inches away. Radio communication with higher command is reduced to minimum necessary traffic, pre-scheduled check-ins where possible, and when transmission is required, antennas are positioned and oriented to minimize the signal footprint and direction. In some environments, even the electromagnetic signature of a radio transmission is a detectable event that an adversary with the right equipment can exploit. Elite sniper teams think about this too. Now let's talk about the mental dimension, because this is where the separation between a competent sniper and a truly elite one becomes most apparent, and it is the dimension that is hardest to train. 48 hours into a hide, the shooter has not moved significantly in 2 days. His joints ache. His back is under sustained compression. He is cold or hot depending on the environment. He is running on limited sleep. He has eaten almost nothing of substance. He has watched the same field of view through the same scope for so many hours that he has memorized every stone, every branch, every variation in the grass. And now he needs to see something that is new. He needs to detect a change in that landscape that indicates activity, that might be a target presenting itself, or might be an enemy patrol that has found a lead on his position. He needs his observation skills to be exactly as sharp as they were when he first set up the scope. Actually sharper, because fatigue degrades pattern recognition, and he knows it, and is actively compensating for it. This is an almost incomprehensible cognitive demand. The human brain has evolved to seek novelty and to habituate to routine. Put a person in the same sensory environment for long enough, and the brain begins to filter out that environment as background noise, as not requiring active processing. For a sniper, that instinct is operationally fatal. The thing he is waiting for will be subtle. It will be brief. It will probably look, at first glance, like nothing more than a slight change in a shadow, a door that is open 2 inches when it was closed before, a figure at a window for less than a second. And if his brain has habituated to the scene, he will miss it. Preventing that habituation is one of the central mental disciplines of long-duration surveillance. Snipers are trained to constantly refresh their cognitive engagement with the scene. They do this through systematic scanning patterns rather than fixed observation. They do it by actively updating their mental map of the scene, noting what has changed and what has stayed the same. They do it by asking themselves analytical questions about what they are seeing. What does this activity pattern tell me? What time is the target most likely to appear, based on everything I have observed? What is the most likely approach route, based on the security posture I can see? They keep their brains working as analysts, rather than as passive recorders, and that analytic engagement sustains cognitive alertness in ways that passive watching cannot. They also manage something called vigilance decrement, which is the well-documented psychological phenomenon where sustained attention on a monotonous task degrades over time. The longer you watch for something that does not happen, the less sharp your watching becomes. Research on this goes back to World War II, when radar operators were found to miss contacts after extended watches on relatively quiet screens. Snipers face the same problem, magnified by physical discomfort, sleep deprivation, and the knowledge that missing the target event might have strategic consequences. The management of vigilance decrement is a trained skill developed through progressive hide exercises where the candidate is tested not just on whether they can see the target, but on whether they can see it on day 2 with the same precision they could see it on hour 1. And underneath all of that vigilance management, there is another mental challenge that is rarely discussed and is in many ways the hardest one. Patience. Not passive patience. Active patience. The difference matters. Passive patience is just waiting. It is tolerating time passing. Active patience is the deliberate, skilled management of the expectation state, the ability to maintain full operational readiness and tactical acuity, while simultaneously accepting without frustration that nothing may happen for another day, another hour, another minute. A sniper who is emotionally fighting his weight, who is internally frustrated by the inaction, who is mentally urging the target to appear, that sniper is burning cognitive resources on a completely unproductive internal state. He is less sharp, less patient in the operational sense, less effective than a sniper who has made complete peace with the wait, and is simply, calmly, and completely present in the moment. This mental state is described by elite snipers and by the psychologists who study high-performance operators in ways that sound almost like descriptions of advanced meditation practice. A complete dissolution of the boundary between the self and the environment. A cessation of internal narrative and anticipatory thinking, a pure, clean, effortless awareness of the present sensory field. Getting there is not easy. It takes years. And the candidates who cannot get there, no matter how good their marksmanship is, do not make it through selection. Let's talk about selection and training now, because the process by which a military branch identifies and develops a sniper of this caliber is itself a remarkable system. Not everyone who wants to be a sniper becomes one. The washout rates at elite sniper schools are high, consistently and deliberately. The basic requirements to even apply for sniper training typically include demonstrated excellence as an infantryman or scout, physical fitness scores that place the candidate in the top tier of their peer group, and a recommendation from their chain of command that assesses not just physical capability, but psychological suitability. That last element is taken seriously. The psychological profile of a successful sniper is specific. The research consistently shows that the best candidates are those who score high on emotional control, low on anxiety, high on conscientiousness, high on sustained attention, and moderate to high on introversion. Not because introverts are better soldiers, but because the ability to be comfortable with extended solitude and silence is a genuine operational asset in this role. Candidates who score high on need for stimulation or who demonstrate difficulty with monotony are screened out early, sometimes before they ever reach the field phase of training. The formal training itself is broken into phases. The early phases focus on marksmanship fundamentals at progressively longer ranges, under progressively more demanding conditions. Wind calls, range estimation, moving target engagements, cold bore shots, all of it is practiced until the standard expected in training would be considered extraordinary performance by any other standard. But even as the marksmanship training progresses, the camouflage and stalking training runs in parallel, and this is where many candidates discover they are better shooters than hiders. Because hiding, truly hiding, from trained observers who are actively looking for you with optics, with thermal equipment, and with detailed knowledge of how hiders think and move, is something that almost nobody does naturally well on first exposure. It has to be built from scratch. The stalking exercises at sniper school are legendary among candidates. The exercise is simple in concept and nightmarish in execution. The candidate must move from a starting point to a firing position within a specified area, engage a target, and then be evaluated by trained observer controllers who are specifically trying to find them. If the candidate is spotted during the stalk, the attempt fails. If the candidate reaches position but fires and the muzzle flash is detected, the attempt fails. If the candidate fires and misses, the attempt fails. If the candidate fires, hits, and is never detected before, during, or after the shot, the attempt succeeds. The observer controllers are not passive. They actively search the area using optics. They walk through areas where they think candidates might be hiding. They have been doing this for years, and they are very, very good at finding people. A candidate in a ghillie suit who is lying 3 meters from an observer controller and who holds absolutely still, maintains their breathing, and does not make a single sound, can pass that observer controller without being found. That has happened. It happens in training regularly. It sounds impossible, but it is not, because at that point the suit and the stillness and the ground matching are all doing their jobs, and a human being lying in matching vegetation and staying completely still does not look like a human being. It looks like ground. Passing that exercise to the required standard is a defining moment in a sniper candidate's development, because at that point, something changes mentally. The candidate has proven to himself that it works, that the suit, the technique, the discipline, the patience, all of it actually makes him invisible. And once you know, genuinely know from experience rather than theory, that you can disappear, everything changes about how you operate in the field. The confidence is not arrogance. It is a calm, evidence-based certainty that the skills you have built are sufficient for the environment you are entering. That certainty itself is a performance multiplier. It allows you to stay in the hide without the gnawing doubt that undermines attention. It allows you to hold still without the anxious monitoring of whether your suit is working. You know it is working because you have been through the test and you have come out the other side. Now, let's go deeper into some of the specific techniques that elite snipers use to manage detection at close range, because this is where the science gets fascinating. The first technique is movement budgeting. A sniper in a hide does not move freely and occasionally stop. He stays stopped and occasionally moves. Those two states are psychologically and operationally different. When movement is necessary, whether to adjust position, to eat, to manage a biological need, or to communicate with the spotter, it is preceded by a full observation cycle. The sniper ensures he knows the status of every observed threat position before committing to any movement. The movement is planned in advance. It is executed at the minimum necessary speed and amplitude, and it is timed. Movement is ideally executed during periods of reduced observation threat, when known enemy positions are oriented away, when a noise mask such as wind or distant activity provides acoustic cover, or when light conditions make detection less likely, such as during overcast periods or at dusk, when the eye is transitioning between photopic and scotopic vision modes. This last detail is subtle but important. The human eye is least reliable during the brief transition period at dawn and dusk, when it is adjusting from day vision to night vision or vice versa. Experienced snipers know this and use those windows for any necessary movement or position adjustment. The second technique involves the management of the rifle and optics. These are the two elements of the sniper's kit most likely to produce detectable signatures in daylight. A rifle barrel, even a matte-finished one, can catch light at certain angles. A lens, even an anti-reflective coated one, can produce a glint visible for hundreds of meters in bright sunlight. The lens caps on sniper scopes are not just for dust protection. They are operationally important, kept closed until the moment of observation or engagement, and replaced immediately after. The rifle barrel is typically kept inside the hide opening, with just enough extension for clearance of the suppressor, and is oriented with any reflective surfaces shaded by the hide structure itself. Some sniper teams use a piece of mesh or gauze over the scope objective to further reduce any potential for lens flare while maintaining adequate optical transmission for observation. The barrel is also kept off hard surfaces to eliminate the potential for vibration sounds, and the bipod, if used, is positioned on soft ground to prevent any metallic contact noise during adjustments. The third technique involves scent management, and this one is underappreciated by almost everyone outside the profession. The human body produces a distinctive odor signature that is a combination of biological output from respiration, perspiration, and other natural processes, combined with any artificial scents introduced by soap, deodorant, detergent, food, or equipment. Dogs are the primary threat in the context of odor detection, and the use of tracking dogs by enemy forces is a real tactical consideration in some operational environments. But even without dogs, wind-borne scent can drift significant distances in the right atmospheric conditions and alert a human observer with a sensitive nose to the presence of something that does not belong in the natural environment. Before a long-duration hide mission, serious sniper teams manage their scent profile. They use unscented soap and shampoo in the days before insertion. They wash their gear in unscented detergent and allow it to air in the local environment to absorb ambient natural scents rather than retaining detergent odor. They avoid eating heavily processed or strongly scented food in the days before the mission. These precautions sound extreme, but they reflect the same principle that applies to every other element of sniper concealment. Every detectable signature is a potential threat to the mission, and every signature that can be reduced should be reduced. Now let's talk about what happens when something goes wrong. Because it does, and the response to that moment defines the difference between operators who survive and those who do not. If a sniper in a hide has reason to believe he has been partially detected, the immediate response is almost always counterintuitive to a non-trained person. The instinct is to do something, to move, to prepare to fight or run. The trained response is to do nothing, and to do nothing perfectly. Because partial detection is not confirmation. A guard who hears a sound and looks toward the hide, or a patrol that passes close, and one man seems to pause near the position, that is a threat that can still be resolved in the sniper's favor if the sniper does nothing observable in the next 30 seconds. The moment the sniper responds to that partial detection, the moment he moves or makes a sound or adjusts his position in a reactive way, he converts a possibility into a certainty. He is the one who reveals himself by responding to being almost found. The discipline required to hold completely still while a human being stands 3 meters away from your hide and looks directly at you is a level of trained self-control that has no civilian equivalent. But that is exactly what the training produces, and it is exactly what saves lives in the field. If detection becomes confirmed, and this does happen, the trained response shifts immediately. The team's extraction plan, which has been rehearsed and committed to memory before insertion, activates. Routes, rally points, communication frequencies, and contingency options are all pre-planned, precisely because in the moment of confirmed detection, there is no time to think about them. Decisions made under duress are slower and lower quality than decisions made in advance and rehearsed. Every experienced sniper knows this and plans accordingly. Let's talk now about the counter-detection technology that modern sniper teams have to consider. because the operational environment for snipers has changed significantly in the last 2 decades, and the concealment discipline that worked against the naked eye and basic optics in earlier conflicts has had to evolve to deal with a substantially more sophisticated threat picture. Thermal imaging is perhaps the most significant technological challenge for snipers today. A ghillie suit that is completely invisible to the naked eye in daylight can still show up clearly on a thermal camera as a warm, human-shaped object lying against cooler ground. The physics are straightforward. The human body maintains a core temperature around 37 degrees Celsius and radiates heat constantly. Ground temperature varies depending on time of day and weather, but in many environments and at many times, the contrast between a warm body and cooler ground is significant and easily detectable with modern thermal sensors, which are increasingly small, affordable, and available to non-state actors, as well as professional military forces. Managing thermal signature is one of the most active areas of development in military camouflage and concealment technology. Current approaches include thermal insulating materials incorporated into the ghillie suit that reduce the amount of body heat radiating outward, the use of heat-dissipating emergency blankets or specialized thermal suppression covers over part of the hide structure, the selection of hide positions that maximize thermal background matching, such as areas near naturally warm ground, sun-exposed rock, or other surfaces that raise ambient temperature toward body temperature, and operational timing that takes advantage of periods when ambient and body temperatures are closest, such as late afternoon in warm environments when the ground has been heated all day, or early morning in cold environments when the air temperature has been dropping toward the body temperature differential. None of these solutions are perfect. They are all part of the ongoing competition between concealment technology and detection technology that has characterized military camouflage development throughout history. From the introduction of khaki by British forces in India in the 19th century, to the sophisticated adaptive camouflage systems being developed and tested by military research programs today. Acoustic detection is another evolving technology. Modern battlefield surveillance systems can use arrays of microphones and sophisticated signal processing to detect the acoustic signatures of human presence, including breathing, heartbeat in very close range applications, and the minute sounds of movement, at distances that would have seemed impossible to a sniper from an earlier generation. Some of these systems are vehicle-mounted, or positioned as part of a fixed surveillance network. Others are small enough to be carried by a patrol and deployed quickly to investigate a suspected hide location. The counter to acoustic detection is the same as the counter to visual detection. Reduce the signature to the lowest possible level and hope that it falls below the threshold of detectability. Snipers cannot eliminate all acoustic signature. They can only minimize it. And minimizing it to the level required to defeat sophisticated acoustic surveillance requires the same extreme stillness and breathing discipline that defeats visual detection. In this sense, the oldest skills in the sniper toolkit turn out to be exactly as relevant against modern technology as they are against the naked eye. Radar-based ground surveillance is another consideration in some operational environments. Modern ground surveillance radars can detect moving objects of very small size at significant distances, flagging them for human or automated review. Against radar, the defense is the same: stay still. A completely still object, even a human-sized one, is significantly harder for many radar systems to classify as a threat than one that is moving, because movement is the primary trigger for radar detection algorithms. Once again, stillness is not just a discipline of concealment. It is a technical countermeasure. Drone surveillance has added an entirely new vertical dimension to the detection problem. In earlier conflicts, a sniper team's primary visual threat came from observers at the same level or from elevated terrain features like hills or buildings. Today, small commercial drones equipped with optical and thermal cameras can fly over a sniper hide at low altitude and provide imagery that is essentially overhead, looking straight down at the hide from an angle for which traditional ghillie suit design provides less protection than it does against lateral observation. This has driven adaptation in concealment doctrine and equipment, with increasing attention to overhead concealment elements in hide construction, better top surface treatment on ghillie suits to break up the human outline as seen from above, and operational timing choices that take advantage of restricted drone flight in certain weather conditions. Snow, heavy rain, and high winds all restrict drone operations significantly, and experienced sniper teams know to factor weather into their planning. The adaptive nature of all this is important to understand. The sniper community, at least in the professional military forces of the world's most capable armies, is not static. It is continuously learning, continuously studying how detection technology is developing, and continuously adapting concealment doctrine and technique in response. The fundamental skills, the stillness, the patience, the suit craft, the ground matching, those have not changed in their essence since the earliest military snipers learned to disappear into the natural world. But the context in which those skills are applied is constantly evolving, and the elite sniper is always a student, always studying the latest threat, always asking how the principles he has mastered can be applied to a new and harder problem. This is, in fact, one of the things that makes the very best snipers remarkable as professional warriors. They are simultaneously among the most technically skilled operators in any military force and among the most intellectually flexible. The technical skill, the marksmanship, the fieldcraft, those are developed through repetition and physical training. But the intellectual flexibility, the ability to take a situation that the training did not specifically prepare you for and to apply first principles creatively and effectively under pressure, that is something closer to a character trait than a learned skill. And it is the quality that the selection process is ultimately trying to identify. Let's bring it back to the human dimension, because it is easy in a detailed technical discussion to lose sight of what we are really talking about. A sniper in a hide for 72 hours is a human being. He has all the same physical needs, psychological needs, and emotional vulnerabilities as any other person. He is cold or hot. He is tired and hungry. He misses his family if he has one. His back hurts. His eyes ache. He wants very much to stand up and stretch, and none of that changes. The training does not make him superhuman. It does not eliminate the discomfort or the longing for normalcy. What it does is teach him to function fully in spite of all of it, to hold all of that personal experience, all of that human weight at a slight remove from his operational function, not to suppress it, because suppression burns energy, but to acknowledge it and then set it aside